Good afternoon, everyone. You're very welcome to the CPA Ireland Virtual Career Summit. My name is Caroline Maloney and I work on the business development team in CPA. Today, we're going to be discussing how you can kickstart your career in accountancy, and I'm going to be joined by Chantal Haynes-Curley, who is our careers advisor at CPA, Cormac Fitzgerald, who is a past president of CPA and also founding partner of Fitzgerald and Partners, Dorotas Gwizdalski, who is a CPA trainee, Brendan Brady, who is a CPA council member and partner Brendan Brady and Associates, and Deirdre McDonald, who is Director of Education at CPA. Firstly, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of CPA for those of you who might not be aware of us. We are one of the main Irish accountancy bodies in Ireland, and we represent over 5,000 students and members. The CPA qualification enjoys international recognition, and our members work in Ireland and abroad across varying different sectors, including financial services, public practice, and industry. If you have any questions during the event, you will probably see your Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. Just type in the question there, and we will be addressing some of them at the end. And if we don't get to all of them, we will be doing up a Q&A sheet and sending it out to everyone after the event. We also, as you probably all know, have some prizes to give away. So we're going to be picking some names at random at the end of this event, and the winners will get some Just Eat vouchers. So now I'm just going to hand you over to Chantal.
Hello everybody, I hope you are all keeping safe and well. Thank you for attending this webinar today. My name is Chantal and I'm the Careers Advisor for CPA Ireland. I'm a HR professional with many years of experience in the area of recruitment and talent management. The Careers Advisory Service has been running since 2019. Since then, we have gone on to place a substantial number of trainee accountants into roles. Later on in this webinar, you will be hearing from Cormac and Dorota, who have both utilised the service. Dorota works for Fitzgerald and Partners and was referred via the placement service, and she will be celebrating her first year as an employee there next month. I'm sure that it will help to give you some perspective on some valuable insight into the service from a student and employer perspective. So I work directly with students. I guide them through the recruitment process and I liaise with employers who are part of our employer network. The employers are based nationwide and they come from a variety of different settings, whether that be general practice or industry. And part of my role is to discuss options with students, gauging whether or not they would like to go into practice or whether they would prefer to go into industry. I then review their CVs. I give them advice on the content and also on the format before sharing with employers who are looking to take on trainees. It is ultimately up to the employer as to whether or not they want to select for interview. Should a candidate student be successful in being selected for interview, I would conduct an interview coaching session with them. I am trained in competency-based behavioural interviewing techniques. So I would talk students through the type of questions that might be asked and how you might go about answering them. Following the interview, if the candidate is offered a placement, they would agree with the employer that the employer cover the cost of the CPA qualification. I would suggest that if you do not have a background in accounting in terms of an academic background or experience, that you look to gain that before entering onto the career placement, purely because it will make you more marketable to employers who are looking to take on trainees. To that end, we have recently established a pathway program. This is a program which provides a generous discount on 2 of the basic foundational modules. They are managerial accounting and financial accounting. The 30% discount applies to Griffith College. It's through their online tuition. And in addition to that, we are waiving the student subscription fee for the remainder of this academic year. So that's to give students an opportunity to get that grounding before moving on to looking for a trainee placement. Training placements last 3 years in line with the mandatory requirements. That is 3 years training under the direct supervision of a qualified accountant. And the training placement service is open to all those who are interested. Once you register with CPA, you'll have the full support of myself and the wider team in ensuring that you establish your accountancy career. My details will be shared with you at the end of this webinar. If anyone would like to get in touch with me, please do. And I will also be getting in touch with you individually to see whether or not there is anything I can assist you with and answer any more questions for you. So that's it from me. I'm now going to pass you over to Cormac, who's going to discuss the CPA journey with you.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Cormac Fitzgerald, and thanks Caroline and Chantal for the introduction. I'm a CPA and past president of CPA Ireland about 6 years ago, and I currently chair the S&P and SME committee. I have a practice based here in Kinsale, County Cork, and I guess what I've noted from my 20 years in practice and in industry, I'm in both business and in practice, is CPA is very adaptable to change. I enjoy working with SMEs and entrepreneurs, and I guess every day is different, and at the moment the ability to problem solve and have emotional intelligence is important so that you can be a trusted advisor and communicator. Each day is different. I deal with a lot of CEOs. Some have 20,000 staff to a local corner shop that might have 1 staff. So it's important to be able to relate to business from a small, medium and large point of view. I guess by becoming a CPA, it opens up a lot of options, especially given the current crisis of where we're at. It allows you to go into academia, be a lecturer, go into practice, open your own practice, go into business, become an entrepreneur, or you could end up in industry as a CFO or a CEO, for example. So I guess that's one of the things that drew me to it at the start, the kind of flexibility over the years that my colleagues, they've all gone in different routes. And it allows you to change as your life and circumstances also change along that journey. I used the CPA placement service recently, which was a pleasure to deal with and very easy, very simple, and I really found the team excellent there. Dorota, who's on the Zoom Summit, was introduced to us, and it was a great match. The service was very efficient, and it was a great placement. So I'd like to thank Caroline and Chantal for that. Dorota has fitted in very well with her team. She's now working remotely from home and has been a really good addition. She's enthusiastic, technically very good, and has brought a new fresh enthusiasm to our Fitzgerald Partners team. So I guess that has been a really positive item. I've used recruitment companies in the past, and while they're very good, I found this service much better for a number of reasons. And I guess working with CPA over the years, CPA has always been very professional, and the executives run a really good show there. So worldwide, globally at the moment, I think there's over 1 million CPAs, and CPA Ireland has mutual recognition agreements with accountancy bodies all over the world, from Canada to you can travel anywhere, I guess. And I know our CEO, Eamon Siggins, is highly regarded by international peer bodies all over the globe, and indeed in Ireland. So the whole team in CPA are good to work with, and at the moment what I found really good is to see strong leadership, and there's a really good COVID resource hub. It's updated every couple of days. So as a practitioner, I can go in and check the COVID resource hub to see what new legislation has come out, and the engagement with members is refreshing to see also. I know it's a very anxious time for any students that are out there at the moment, and for people in general, and it's a new situation for everybody. Hopefully we won't see it for another 100 years again, and it's been described as the worst crisis since World War II. So we're all living through history as such, in where we are at the moment. But the one thing I've noticed in a positive sense from being involved in lots of businesses is that it's never been a better time to be an accountant. So I've learned the value of education, because I have 2 young kids, one 11 and one 16. My daughter loves reading books. That's her passion, and she's delighted because she's at home writing a book, reading books, and watching her progress, especially in times like this. I suppose it gives you a different perspective. And her research has proved that by reading books, it helps you to be a better problem solver. And by being a better problem solver, it's applicable to everything throughout life at the moment. So from my perspective, working with hundreds of SMEs and business owners, it's those who can adapt to change at the moment will succeed. And being an accountant is probably one of the most important skill sets that's out there, apart from the frontline medical workers who are doing really good work. But in the world of business, I guess, to be able to interpret new legislation as it comes out, which is fed into us from CPA organisation, to bring that to our clients. I'm very proud to be a CPA at the moment. As I say, it's changing from week to week. And the one thing I've done differently in this crisis is that I walk to work every morning, small change, and I listen to my music, I listen to some TED Talks, and I get some fresh air. And last week I listened to Richard Branson, I listened to Steve Jobs, all very interesting and enlightening on my way to work. And the other important thing that I've noticed is the move to technology. So we're all on a Zoom conference call here today, and I guess as younger audience, you're all very good and proficient in technology. And I think that is really one of the key important messages that's come across at the moment. So CPA, thankfully, has been telling us that for years. So we were featured in the S&P Practice of the Future. And one of the key messages from CPA over the last 5 years is move to technology, make technology help make your life easier. And thankfully we did. It's now working well. Dorotas is working from home. I have other team members working from home. And this new flexible model could be a model for the future of CPA practices. So I guess the 2 key learnings for me is the value of education, the value of being a CPA, and using technology to make us more efficient. So I think the CPA placement service is excellent and it works for everybody. I don't have to pay a recruitment fee. Dorota, it's worked well for her, and it's worked well for CPA placed in the middle because you're adding value to both parties. On a separate note, I'm 46 years of age today. It's my birthday, so happy birthday to me. And if I had to rewind the clock back to the age of 20, I would do a lot of things very differently. I guess the last 26 years has made me appreciate the importance of education, the importance of technology, and the importance of networking. Thankfully, I have a large network of contacts, and I guess it's important at times like this that you can reach out and chat and find more about the new world that we're living in. So I hope that you all enjoyed the virtual summit today. It's a first for me to participate as a panelist in this, and I'm happy to connect with any of you. I'm on all the platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm not cool enough or young enough for TikTok or any of those, but I'm on all the traditional ones. So please feel free to connect with me after the summit. I'm delighted to work with panelists Caroline Chantal and Business Development Deirdre McDonald, CPA Ireland Director, who's going to talk about the accountant of the future. And I look forward to Brendan speak on technology. I know he's excellent in that space and he's looking very cool in his office there with Brady and Associates in the background, very corporate looking. So in summary, I guess for anybody, from a CPA trainee point of view, a good friend of mine is the CEO of Kerry Group that I went to school with, and I was chatting to him recently of what kind of graduates. They have 26,000 staff, and what kind of graduates they're looking at in the food sector, and a lot of them being accountants, for example. So they look for 3 key ingredients in candidates. One is that they're a good communicator. 2 is that they have good grades. They don't need to be top of the class, but they have fairly good grades. And the 3rd is that they're a team player, so they can fit in well with the team. So the balance between all those 3 items is probably very important, and it's something I would look for in a CPA graduate as well. I would add now in COVID-19, a 4th being technology, but younger people are all very good in technology anyway. And I guess having a good work ethic and perhaps volunteerism by helping others, you can help yourself, as the saying goes. I recently joined a Lions Club and I find it very good to help others on a private basis. So that would be something that would stand out to me and somebody's CV if they were coming forward. So I've made a lot of good and bad decisions in my 26 years, but becoming a CPA was definitely one of my better ones. So I'm now going to pass you over to our super team member, Dorota, to speak to you more about the life of a trainee. Thank you.
Good afternoon all, and thank you Cormac, thank you Chantal and Caroline for introduction. My name is Dorota and I am a CPA trainee since June 2019, which is nearly a year. I was successful in securing a trainee accountant role with Fitzgerald & Partners in Kinsale. Until today's date, I can't believe how easy it was. I remember that my application for CPA placement I submitted being in college. I was in Cork Institute of Technology where I used to study. It was my final year of studying business and I had this 1 or 2 hour gap between my classes, as you do as a student. And I said this time I will use this break wisely. So I sat down, I used one of the computers in ID Access and I filed the application, which I saw advertising on one of the career portals. I think it was either Jobs.ie or Indeed.ie, could be Grad Island .ie back then. So I did, and it was nothing complicated. About 3 minutes later, I received a phone call. I would never guess the phone call would be in relation to CPA. I remember I was super impressed how quick in response the response was from CPA. We had a lovely chat, it was nothing stressful. The steps were explained, and as far as I can remember, I had to send my CV and a cover letter, as you do for all the job applications. So I did. After that, I was waiting for a confirmation about a number of exemptions I could have. Of course, after being successful in completing my final year, after maybe a day or 2, I received a confirmation with the amount of exemption I could receive. And the next step was interview preparation. I was asked where I am comfortable to work location-wise, and a few other questions such as when can I start, any holidays planned, etc. And I was in the middle of sitting my final exams. So once I had them done, I was ready for the interview. Chantal and Caroline were really good to me over this whole process. Can't thank them enough. When I got invitation for the interview, they sent me tips and we talked over the phone what questions I could possibly be asked. And we did practice a little with the questions and answers. It was all very useful. When I had my interview with Cormac, I thought it went well. Afterwards, it was a pleasure actually. Actually, interview can be very stressful, especially when you start with your career. You really don't want your years of hard work in college result in no job. Thankfully, I was successful in securing trainee accountant role, and I can't describe how blessed and grateful I am. I wish everyone had the same experience as I have. And so yes, so that was my that was me and my little journey with securing CPA placement. And in relation to the trainee life, as Cormac already mentioned, being accountant at the moment is an essential skill set. Our team and I are extremely busy at the moment, and I am proud that not only I was able to keep my job with current challenge we have, which is COVID-19, but also I am in a position to help and advise our clients throughout the crisis. One of the main areas where our clients require support and assistance is payroll. Currently, I am assisting with the temporary wage subsidy scheme and its application, which is an example worth to mention based on the recent changes. Very often, the accountant is blamed for the financial situation. However, over the past few weeks, our clients are really grateful, and I can't describe how fulfilling that is. Of course, it is really stressful and challenging time for everyone, but the fact that I, as a trainee accountant, was able to help and make them happy in some way, it's really rewarding. The temporary wage subsidy scheme is just an example based on recent situation that's happening. Generally speaking, every day is a different day. Today I might be working on the payroll, tomorrow I will be working on different projects. It might be a new client, it could be one of the deadlines such as VAT, PAYE or income tax, named only a few. It could be a new law, new legislation, where first of all, we need to educate ourselves before we can take another steps. It could be a new webinar available for us. It could be doing something for our practice, such as design survey. The list goes on. At the end of the day, I can assure you I am being kept occupied and I am learning new things every day. At the end of my little speech, I would like to thank you all. Caroline, Chantal, thank you again for your support. Cormac, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be part of your team, for all your kind words and your support, your guidance, and a happy birthday to you. And for all of you who took time to join our virtual seminar, and for those who are potentially considering the path today, my message is simple: don't hesitate for a moment. It's a great and easy way to start your career in accountancy. And I will welcome any questions you might have in the end, and feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Thank you, and I will pass now over to Brendan.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks to Dorota there for that for those slides. My name is Brendan Brady. I run a practice in Dublin 8, Mead Street, and we primarily do audit, tax, liquidation, and general accounting compliance work. As Cormac touched on there earlier, it's despite what you might think, it's probably not been a better time to be an accountant in terms of demand. The demand for accounting services. There's an old saying that there's only two guarantees in life. That's death and taxes. So when clients need help with their taxes, invariably they're going to come to their accountants. In terms of what I'll be talking to you about now, the technological trends in accountancy, there's definitely a change that has been coming gradually and then suddenly, and that's definitely a lean towards, the change in technology is definitely leaning towards cloud accounting. Okay, the client demand for cloud accounting is forcing the profession in that direction. Okay, so for as a student or a trainee, the advantage from your perspective is that gone will be the days where, when I started as a trainee, when you go into a practice, you were invariably given stacks of invoices, stacks of bank statements, and as a trainee, the expectation was that you would write those up manually, in some cases by hand, and then eventually it moved to Excel, where the trainee would write up all these bank statements and purchase invoices. Okay, that's been done away with. Okay, so for example, in our practice, I explicitly tell the staff, look, I don't want you writing up bank statements or purchase invoices. We have technology that will do that. Okay, so what happens now is bank statements are either exported directly from a client's bank account, or they're scanned in and they're uploaded with a piece of software and they're converted into an Excel document. Likewise with receipts, purchase invoices, they're scanned in, and what we get is the output. Okay, so the trend is, or what the expectation will be as a trainee in a couple of years, is that you won't be entering in that data, but you'll be expected to interpret it and understand it. Okay, so the technology is taking the manual input out of the work. So the traditional role of the trainee as kind of being the number cruncher, it's moving away from that. What you'll be expected to develop are skills in terms of you're receiving data, and then to understand that and to interpret that, and does that information that you're receiving make sense? Okay, so you won't be expected, for example, in our practice, like I said, I tell them, don't enter in invoices manually. That's a waste of your time, okay, and it's a waste of the client's time as well, okay. So I definitely see a trend towards cloud accounting. As a student or as a trainee, what I would say is try and develop your analytical skills. So try and understand when you receive data, what does that actually mean? So if you receive, a bank statement or a list of purchase invoices, you would be expected to scan through that and take a step back and kind of look at the big picture. And you would look for any variances, does that information meet your expectations? Okay. Have a look at Excel skills will still be expected, but not just in terms of knowing how to use Excel. What I mean is things like pivot tables, macros, VLOOKUPs, manipulating and working with the data in Excel. Power Excel skills is what would be expected in terms of, not just, write a line or highlight a piece of text, but actually take that data, manipulate it, sort it, taking raw data and being able to turn that into something usable within Excel, okay? But as a trainee, I would say if I was a trainee now, or if I was talking to what I would tell a trainee in our office is that start by getting familiar with some of the cloud software that's out there. You can set up an account with some of the main providers for free, and they have online certificates that you can use. I would suggest maybe getting a couple of those certificates. It's not going to cost you anything, but then if you're interviewing with potential employer and they see that you already have, your certificate in Xero or Sage or QuickBooks, whatever that is, it will just make the process. It will make it easier for them to onboard you or to hire you, because more than likely on day one or your first week, they will expect you to put you through that anyway. So if you wanted to get a competitive advantage from other candidates who are trying to secure a placement, I'd suggest trying to upskill in some of those software courses that are there, which are free. They're not going to cost you anything, just a couple of hours of your time, and get those under your belt, and then it will give you an advantage over other candidates then who are trying to get a placement in a CPA firm, or even in even if you decided to go into industry, or another employer, it's going to stand to you either way, okay? Because all employers will be using cloud accounting at some stage, if not now, but definitely at some stage in the future. Okay. Happy to take any questions. If anybody wants to connect with me, I'm on primarily on LinkedIn, Brendan Brady. If you're going to connect with me, just if you just put a note when you connect, just say that I saw you on the virtual summit, because I get a lot of connect or a lot of requests, and a lot of time it's people who are trying to sell stuff. So if you just put something in the comment section just to say that you saw me on the virtual summit, can we connect? And I'll add you on there. If you want to ask me a question privately, you can do so there as well. But again, happy to take any questions after the summit or the Q&A at the end.
Thank you, Brendan. I'm going to take over now and just give you a run through the changing face of the profession. I'm Deirdre McDonald. I'm a CPA as well, and like the other CPAs that spoke, best thing I ever did, without a doubt. It set me up for my career. Just to give you a bit of background, I trained in practice, and following training in practice, which is the most amazing start to any professional accounting career. The training you get, especially in a small to medium-sized practice, I would highly recommend. I then went into the advertising industry as financial controller. My next step in my career is I went to work in PA consulting, an international global management consulting firm, and I worked all over Europe, in the States. Great career. And then when I started my family, I became self-employed, and this is a great thing about the CPA qualification. You have this with you for the rest of your life, and you can do so many different things in your career with it. I then became self-employed, and I did for small to medium-sized companies what I had been doing in the world of management consulting. So I brought those services like strategic planning, business continuity management, risk management. I'm also a risk practitioner, so you can add on more qualifications as you go through your career. And I now find myself as Director of Education at CPA Ireland. So it's been a very varied career, and it has suited the various phases of my life. And I would highly recommend it. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the director. I am a CPA. I qualified in 1990, so I have had a long CPA career. I'm going to give you a quick run through today of how the profession is changing. And as Brendan pointed out, it's changing rapidly. And I don't think we've ever seen the pace of change that we've had in this last few years over my entire career. You know, I started out with the red ledger books and a biro, and we didn't have computers, and you had your calculator and your pen, and that was about it. But I've come through the Excel, the accounting packages, and we're now into a completely changing environment. So I'm going to give you a run through of what the profession is looking at the moment. And we're trying to anticipate the area of demand for accounting skills, because that is changing. The behaviors and competencies needed to be successful in this new, what we call a business ecosystem. And it really is, and we'll touch on exactly how it is changing. And then the changing expectations of what it means to be an accountant, because, you know, as Brendan pointed out, you don't spend your days anymore inputting the information. People expect you to be able to do something clever with that information, because there's no marks for the easy bits anymore. You have to be very good at using the information that we have from these systems and adding value. And that's what the accountant does now. And that's, you know, in any practice or an industry, your accountant is there to add value. We're responding to that change at CPA in a number of ways. And we want to ensure and at the moment we're reviewing the syllabus, and there'll be a new syllabus launched in later this year, and it will start to be educated in the next term, which is for the accountancy profession around the beginning of October. And we want to make sure that our newly qualifieds, when they come out of the CPA education system, that they are qualified and equipped to be able to function in this new environment. So what I'm going to do, and a lot of you will probably have come from recent accounting or business education, like Dorota and her business degree in CIT, and you'll be familiar with a lot of the subjects already. But just to give you a quick run through, and if you haven't been in business education so far, it will make sense to you when you start your accounting career, if that's what you decide to do. So looking at the subjects and where we're making the changes, and a lot of it will touch on what Brendan already covered about how IT is impacting. The first subject area that is changing rapidly is management accounting, and performance management as the kind of advanced version of management accounting is referred to now. So this is mostly impacted by the emergence of big data. And we need our newly qualified to be comfortable around big data, because there is no point in saying, look, I'm just not into data, it's not my thing. There's no escaping this now. So your analytical skills, your ability to work with everything from pivot tables and Excel, as Brendan pointed out, into companies that deal with massive warehouses of data. So we'll cover that. Is being introduced throughout the syllabus, and across we have two subjects: management accounting and performance management. The other thing that for the first time, I think the accountants are having to get involved in is the whole area of Google Analytics, customer behavior. If you think about it, if you're tasked in a company or for a client with, you know, putting together cash flow projections or profit projections, if you're in any kind of a business where there is retail or customer types of spending behavior, the accountants now have to be comfortable digging around in Google Analytics, looking at expected trends in customer spending, because you're trying to base you know, a document where you're putting together a cash flow projection or a profit projection, or maybe even a business plan for a client, and you need to know what customer behavior will do to those figures. So areas, as I say, that traditionally accountants never got involved in, we are having to get involved in much, much more. And we're reflecting that in the changes to the syllabus. The next subject that needed attention to bring it into you know, where we are going is audit and assurance services. So the area of audit, as you know, and when I trained in practice, it was very much what Brendan mentioned. It was entering up invoices and going in and doing tests on debtors' ledgers and creditors' ledger and bank reconciliations and making sure that items had been posted. And more what's going to emerge is this whole area of continuous audit. So a lot of what we would have done as auditors once a year on the audit, going in to check had everything been posted correctly, the system will check that as it goes along now, and it'll raise little red flags, and you know, the artificial intelligence will learn where something is meant to be posted to. And the more that you do these transactions, the system recognizes that, oh, that payment to the director that normally goes into the payroll, that's actually a director's loan. This is, it will be outside of the pattern that the machine is used to. So all these kinds of changes that we must equip our students to be aware of, this moving into environments where there's all these changes. So it really is, I can't stress enough how the role is changing. And I think it's a good time to become an accountant, because a lot of the kind of drudgy, boring bits are disappearing, and they're being replaced, as Brendan mentioned, with much more thinking work and much more value add work. The other area that we're looking at in around audit is understanding the systems. So you can't go in and audit somebody's, a client's environment if you don't understand the systems that that company are using. So students are expected to have much more knowledge in the whole area of systems, and this is all reflected in the new CPA syllabus. Even when you bring in areas like blockchain, if you are traditionally where you were auditing, you're tracing transactions through a system, and blockchain, and it's not very widely adopted in, you know, obviously very large organizations use it, but smaller companies and more medium-sized companies will begin to adopt blockchain. And blockchain is where you can trace and there's verified traceable steps in a chain of events or transactions. And so that is also in the future going to change how auditing works. So there's a lot of changes coming down the line for auditors. And finally, for auditors, the area from a technology perspective that's going to change is our reliance on the underlying algorithms in a system. It's no good going in and saying, well, the machine did this, so it must be right. So that teamed up with the requirement for auditors, and this again you will see across our syllabus when the new one is released, is the whole area of professional skepticism. So auditors are expected to be able to develop skills to have a questioning mind, to dig deeper, to not take things at face value. Because during an audit you will get evidence presented from both the systems, but also even when you're talking to the client and you ask them questions about it, it is knowing, and Cormac and Brendan will understand this, it's knowing when to dig a little bit deeper. And it's a hard thing to teach, but we have been guided by the profession, and CPA would be involved in the profession internationally. And actually we were at the International Directors, Accounting Education Directors Forum in New York in February, just before, it seems like a lifetime ago, when we were all still free to travel. And this is something the whole profession is preparing for, is the technology, but also this development of a skill to have professional skepticism. So you're going to see lots of great new interesting things turning up across accounting syllabi. In financial reporting, obviously, as well, artificial intelligence, blockchain, all of these areas that will change how the underlying accounts are prepared. Finally, in the regard to technology, anything to do with financial services. So you'll see in our managerial finance subject and also in our advanced financial management, you will see the whole area of fintech, fintech, cryptocurrencies, lots and lots of very, very interesting and exciting developments around the whole area of financial services. So you will see this appear on our syllabus, and you will begin, if you choose CPA and you come in regardless of where your exemptions are, you will touch on all of these areas throughout your education. Finally, the other area that we are introducing, so you've got the new technologies, the emerging and disruptive technologies, you've got this whole new area of professional skepticism, and finally, the other big area that we're going to see coming in at our final level subjects of advanced financial reporting and strategy and leadership, and they are mandatory subjects, you have to take those subjects. We are introducing sustainability reporting and carbon accounting. So we want the next generation of newly qualified CPAs to lead the charge in this and to really, really push for this to be something that accountants insist that either their employer or your client engages in. And there's lots of, at the moment, it's hard to believe, but there's still no actual accounting standard that requires companies to report on their sustainability or their carbon footprint. It's all done at the moment voluntarily, but there are very, very good frameworks around this, and lots of the International Federation of Accountants have a sustainability framework that our education will be based on. And it will guide accountants in how to create this culture in the organization, and you'll encounter that on your strategy and leadership subject, but also then how to actually account for this and how to assess the material impact and how to report on this. So this is something that is a really big step for CPA, and we are hoping that we will change the landscape and change the pressure that is being put on the industry to report on sustainability. And we feel that it's very, very important. The very last thing, and the biggest change, I suppose, for us as an institute who, traditionally accountants were core subjects, accounting, audit, tax, all the usual suspects. We now have a new elective on our final syllabus, and that is data analytics for finance. So this will be an elective if you really want to specialize in the whole area of data analytics and develop those skills. So we're also working with the Analytics Institute in having some sort of a joint award. So as you qualify as a CPA, that you will also get recognition with the Analytics Institute. And again, like Brendan mentioned, it's all about developing your CV, adding layers of usability, how you will add value to the organization that hires you. So we're very excited about adding data analytics. It gives another specialism if you want to add that to your CV. And so just to conclude, I suppose it's very, very clear that there's massive change. You really need to embrace technology. You need to embrace data. It will be part of your education, so you don't need to worry, you don't have to invent it yourself. CPA are ready and waiting to educate you. And it's, I can only wish you the very, very best with your careers. And like the others, I'm contactable on LinkedIn, or obviously I'm Director of Education at CPA, so you'll find me on the CPA website. And I'll finish by saying happy birthday, Cormac. Strange, another lockdown birthday. I've encountered a few so far. And thank you to Caroline and Chantal for setting this up. I think it's hugely useful. And Brendan and Dorota, I found your speeches very interesting, and it's nice to participate. So we're happy to answer all your questions. I know there's a Q&A appearing online, so we'll take it from there. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a million, Deirdre, for that. We've actually had quite a few questions come in, so we're just going to address a few now. The first one, I think maybe Chantal might be able to answer. It's, do I need an experience or an existing accountancy qualification to be successful in securing a trainee role?
So not necessarily, especially with regards to the experience. By all means, it definitely helps to have some experience, whether that be interning or perhaps some short stint of work experience during the summer months while you're in college. You can start off at the foundational level, as I mentioned before. The Careers Placement Service is open to those who are entering at the foundational level. However, you would be much more marketable to employers having had completed those two modules that I mentioned, the management accounting and financial accounting. I think that's pretty much all I can say in regards to that. If anyone has any further questions, by all means, please do get in touch with me directly.
Great, thanks a million, Chantal. Just another one's come in here, and it says, when will employers resume hiring accountants? Cormac, would you be able to address that one? Hello?
Hello, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Cormac.
Yeah, I would imagine, given the demand for accountancy services at the moment, that it'll be one of the few sectors that will be hiring quite quickly. So I would envisage, as this, we're talking about a path to recovery at the moment and items reopening. There's a lot of businesses still in business, of course. So I'd expect in the next 2 to 3 months to be hiring again. And I think CPAs will be the first to be hired because they're very busy. They're navigating the way, looking at all the supports, doing business plan projections. And so I certainly think it's going to be quite in the short term that firms are going to start staffing up. And of course, the same with industry. So I'd say in the short term that will happen.
That's perfect. Thanks, Cormac. Just another one here. I think Dorota might be able to answer this one. It's why should I choose the CPA qualification?
Thank you for the question. First of all, CPA is well recognized. It is recognized all around the world. For those who are thinking to work abroad, that is the one you should choose. Second of all, CPA has an amazing career advice. It's very professional, helpful, and quick. They're always up to date. In relation to membership, you will always receive updates. In relation to regulation, examinations, law, etc. And it's very flexible in relation to exams and studying. You can either study online or you can sit in class. Everyone will find suitable version.
Great, thanks a million, Dorota. Brendan, I think I have one for you here as well. Would you recommend any online courses that would help improve my knowledge around accounting technology?
Yeah, so what I'd say to that is just repeat what I said before, without jumping into an in-depth degree or diploma. I'd say start off with sign up for some of the cloud accounting software providers and get your certification in there. Okay, that won't take too much of your time, and like I said, it will give you an advantage. The other thing then is have a look at Microsoft run free courses as well around Excel, analytics, data analytics. There's also Microsoft Power BI if you really wanted to go into depth. But I would say in the first instance, familiarize yourself with cloud accounting if securing employment is your priority, and then have a look at some of the Excel analytics courses. There's lots of free stuff online, and other than that, then I'd say just have just try and maintain your general knowledge, like just reading. I always say to people, just read, try and have a broad understanding of a lot of things, and just maintain, just have a good general understanding of the profession in general. But yeah, I think that's all I can say on that for the moment. But start off with the cloud accounting certificates, and that should give you a foot in the door if you're trying to get a trainee role.
Brilliant, that's some great advice there, Brendan. Next one I think is for you, Deirdre. Does the syllabus differ from other syllabi available globally?
Sorry, am I unmuted there? Yeah, I am. Well, the profession, you've got to remember that the profession is built around core knowledge, and that will never change. You will still have the core knowledge of accounting, law, auditing, taxation, management accounting, and they're the kind of staples. But all of the institute will now have a strategy and leadership paper on the final level, and they're all mandatory. So there's very, very little difference between the syllabi. I suppose we have probably taken a big leap forward in our data analytics, and we're the first institute to have a dedicated subject at the in our qualification. All of the accountancy bodies around the world, and there's a platform also in Ireland, they do work together on the profession, and we are all moving in the same direction, and it's because the market requires that. But I suppose with CPA, our syllabus change is probably the most recent and therefore probably the most up to date in technology and where the profession is going. And I suppose too, a lot of the difference will be around the support you get around those subjects. And I think, and Dorota probably found this too, CPA are very open. The door is open. It's very easy to access advice and guidance. And, you know, we're an agile institute. We respond very quickly to what the student needs and what's happening in the profession nationally and globally. But more or less, an accountancy qualification has core elements and then the other bits added on, which we're good at.
That's great. Thanks a million, Deirdre. I think now we're going to sort of announce the winners of the Just Eat vouchers. So they're going to come up on screen now. So congratulations to everyone there. You all are going to receive a €20 voucher, and we will be posting it out to you. Finally, I just want to wrap things up. I want to wish Cormac a very, very happy birthday. So happy birthday to Cormac. Also wanted to say thank you to our panelists, Chantal, Cormac, Brendan, Dorota and Deirdre. Some really, really great insights there. I also want to say thank you to the people working behind the scenes, Sinead, Jill and Claire. You've all been great. And thank you, I suppose, everyone who has joined this. I hope you found it useful, and we will definitely follow up at the end of the event. And should you have any questions, please reach out to anybody. Hope everyone stays safe and well, and I look forward to connecting with you all soon.